Thank you for tuning in to the Doing Business with God podcast.
Hey, you. Yes, you. I am your host, Michi Renee.
It is Michi's passion to help you live your best life and do business God's way. Michi will be talking about entrepreneurship, manifestation, monetization, mindset, beliefs, starting and growing a business, nonprofit, or ministry, all while serving God. So welcome to My Daddy's Business. It's time for the show. It's the Doing Business with God podcast with your host, Michi Renee.
Hello, tribe. Welcome back to another episode of the Doing Business with God podcast, dedicated to helping you do business God's way. In this episode, I will be talking with Victoria Tatum with Valiantly Victorious. Victoria, a believer, mother, entrepreneur, and published author. She is dedicated to tangibly creating ways for women to thrive in their families, purpose, and life, the gospel. So she is going to be talking with us today on how being an entrepreneur is definitely a faith step, especially when you're all in with no plan B. I hear you on that. Going from glory to glory and really allowing God to move you through your gifts. So Victoria, welcome to the Doing Business with God podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I am so glad
I'm very excited to be here.
Thank you. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right in. So how long have you been in business?
I've officially been in business, been right around 2 years now, where I've been pursuing this vision that God gave me.
Tell us about it.
So what I do, I've been focused more around content creation, and now I've just incorporated some instructing to further help some of my, students along the way in their journeys and just their process to destiny. I want to really help women overcome in a lot of the hindrances that try to get in the way of us pursuing purpose.
And what do you feel or think some of those hindrances are for the people that you're working with?
A lot of it is encouragement and just recognizing our identity and whatever the Lord is calling us to do, just being rooted in a way in our relationship with Him so that we're so close to Him that we can just hear from Him as He's leading us. We're so familiar with His voice that any other distractions or those things that try to oppose us or come against us, that not that it just really phases us or take us off of the path that we're currently on or where He has us positioned.
Right, because what no man has for us, what God has for us, no man can take from us. And absolutely,
yes.
It's all about being obedient, hearing God's voice, doing what He says to do, even when it doesn't make sense. I can absolutely relate to that. Been there and done that and like, okay, God,
yes.
You want me to do that? So yes. So talk to me what you mean about being all in with no plan B. That's one of the things that stuck out for me when you filled out your application to come on the Doing Business with God podcast, is that paragraph that you wrote that really stuck out to me. So let's talk about that.
I think just entrepreneurship in general, it already comes with its challenges. And I see a lot of people, they most likely promote the fact that it's better to have, your 9 to 5 still just for that extra cushion. But it also creates somewhat of a dependency on just if God gave you the vision, you're not going to fully see it through. So you're dependent on the job, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's just all about being led by God when it comes to that situation. But being completely just all in is a little scary. It requires a lot of faith. It definitely requires a dependency on God because He's the one who gave you the vision in the first place. You're going to need His divine hand for His divine plan. You're going to need Him in the midst of it all.
Yeah.
So not having that plan B, there is no cushion. There's nothing for you to fall on but Him.
We have to keep our focus and our eyes on God. He is our source. He is our provision. And you're absolutely right. There is no plan B. And the only time that I tell my clients to keep their 9 to 5 is when their 9 to 5 is funding what God has given them to do. And at some point, God will tell you, okay, it's time for you to leave that job. Or if you're not listening, He will make a way and He'll snatch the job from you. And you don't have any other choice but to do what He says for you to do. So sometimes it's forced obedience. Trust me, you don't want to have to do the forced obedience. You want to walk in what God is telling you to do when He says for you to do it. So what were you doing prior to starting your entrepreneurial journey?
We hope that you are enjoying this episode. If you would like to be a guest, check the show notes for all the details. let's get back to the Doing Business with God podcast with Michi Renee.
I was working like just odd jobs. I worked for the post office for a while, and I just knew that purpose was always bubbling in me. I always knew that this is not what God had for me. I never knew it was going to be specifically entrepreneurship that he was going to take me on, but he was already planting the seeds of, I have something more for you, something different for you, something better for you, like a plan for my life. And I didn't know where he was going to take it, but just following his hand and allowing him to really lead my life has led me up to this point, and it's beyond what I could have ever even imagined.
Absolutely. When you follow him, it always is that way. So I heard you say that you create content. So tell us about what kind of content are you creating?
So that's kind of where it all started, was like, it was all God, because I got the cameras, the microphone equipment, it all just came to me. So I kind of started piecing together that this was something that he wanted me to do, which was create videos, create some type of visual content to inspire people. And I never really knew it was going to be about purpose, but it just all started to flow pretty naturally with me being on my own journey of really pursuing the plans that he had for me. So I just started to kind of talk about the things that I was overcoming and the areas that I had victory in. And then I started seeing that there was a common ground. Other people were struggling with some of the same things that I was when I was just trying to get on my feet, as far as like just understanding what the Lord was going to do. How is he still going to make a way for my bills to be paid? Or like, is there fruit to this obedience? Because it feels so much like just sacrifice.
Yes, I'm laughing not at you. I'm laughing with you because I have experienced some of the same things. You know, my corporate background, I came from over 20-year career in HR, recruiting, organizational development, project management. And, I had a certain level of income that I could make, that I knew that I could make easily, and no big deal. $80,000 salary was good. And it's like, okay, where's my 80K? That's what I was making before I started doing this. Where's that?
Right.
That's what I'm trying to get back to. That's what I'm wanting, So yes, I totally understand that. And one of the things that I have to do is I have to stay away from trying to figure out the how. That's not my business. That's God's business.
Yeah.
Me doing my part is what's my business, not the how. There's no way I'm going to figure out the how. What I'm going to do is, if he tells me to go over here and pay for Sally Jesse's groceries, that's what I'm going to do, because he ain't telling me, but next week he going to have somebody randomly reach out to me and give me $2,000 on Instagram. And I'm not exaggerating. That actually did happen. It was a 1,000.
Wow.
So the week prior, I had been in the grocery store and God was like, okay, I need you to pay for this lady's groceries. And I was like, oh, okay. So I did. I paid for the lady's groceries. She was so shocked. It was an older lady. She was like, oh my God, thank you so much, blah, blah, blah. It was only $58. And then the next week, I was doing a live video on Instagram, and the girl heard it. I don't even remember what it was now. And she was like, God told me to give you $1,000. I was like,
wow.
What? She's like, yes, God told me to sow into your ministry. And I was like, God, I got a ministry? That's what we calling this? I was like, I have a ministry now, God. And he was like, yes, everything you do is unto me. That is a ministry. If you're singing, if you're dancing, if you're cooking, people make ministry so complicated. And even me as a person was doing the same thing. Oh, I'm not an apostle. But he's like, no, but you're a teacher and you have a ministry. You're giving of your time 5 days a week. You're coming on live. You're doing what I said for you to do. So why wouldn't you think I would bless you in that? Oh, okay. Exactly. Okay, I got it. So I don't question anything now. I let God do his business and I do mine.
Right.
And that's it.
That's awesome.
That's all I can do. And I'm sure you are doing the same thing in your life, in your business.
Exactly. You really learn so much about who he is when you just continue to take those steps for whatever he's leading you in. You really learn so much more about his character.
Absolutely. So one of the other things, you are a published author. So tell us about your book. What have you written? Where can we find it?
Reaching wild, teaching, reaching wild, teaching. Let me stop playing with you guys. This is Shanita Lacia of the Reaching While Teaching podcast. Listen, my podcast is all about reaching people while teaching them how to live their best life. I keep it practical. I keep it short and sweet. I keep it entertaining, and I keep it very relatable. So please check out my show if you're interested in growing into your God-given potential, because I know greatness is inside of you. So check it out. What What are you waiting for? The Reaching While Teaching podcast, available everywhere. Y'all be blessed.
Yes, I wrote a book. It's called Mothers Who Cover, and it's available on my website at valiantlywictorious.com. The book I started it basically because TD Jakes has a quote, and it says, when you know what you can't stand, then you know what you're called to fix. Like, I kind of live by that quote a little bit because it's definitely motivation. Because when I wrote Mothers Who Cover, I was in a season where I was very frustrated with not just only with I was a new mom, I was a breastfeeding mom, and I had so many challenges with that. And I just was trying to juggle household, purpose, and motherhood. And then there was a frustration in my pursuit. I would see other mothers struggling with some of the exact same things that I was. And they felt like motherhood was their identity. Like everything was about their kids. Everything was my kids in my life, those types of things. It would kind of just make me cringe on the inside because I'm like, there's so much more that God wants to do with our lives. And when I look at the Proverbs 31 woman, I'm like, not to just put no huge crazy standard on women, but she was doing so much and her life was so fruitful, and she was also a mother. So I'm like, I know God has more for me than just this current state. So it was just going through just all of those emotions and just walking that season out with the Lord, and just the different revelations that he was giving me that he wanted other mothers to know. Like, not motherhood is a role, and it's not your identity. It's something that God calls you to, and to function with that truth, like knowing that yes, you can love your children, you can pour into your children intentionally, just like you have an intentional type of devotion with God. Like, you can do all of those different things with him, and he can still lead you and call you away, not necessarily from your family, but I don't want to say he wouldn't call you away from your family, but there is just a time and a season for everything, where God will have you super close to your children in one season, and then in the next season you have to take care of it in just a different way and move forward, and maybe something that he's leading you into. Go ahead and start that business, go ahead and write that book, or start journaling, whatever it is that he's leading you into. You can find a way to balance it all, just with a little gospel and a little strategy. Mix that together, and the Lord can really lead you into something great. You can see a lot of fruit from it as well.
Right. Definitely with him, because we are not able to balance things on our own, because if we could, we would. And so we definitely need God's leading and his guidance to help us, air quote, balance our life. And I will say self-care is the best care. You have to be 100% before you can be 100% for anyone, even your child, your spouse, your brother, your cousin. We need to give from our overflow. That's what the Bible tells us, not what we need to stain our own cup. So if your cup is only full, you don't have anything to offer, baby. I'm sorry. And no should be the answer. You don't have anything to offer. You don't have anything to offer if your cup is only half full. Your answer should be no.
I actually have a section like that in the book called The Source. We have to actually, like, how to not turn to outside forces to fill us back up, but we have to separate and take that time out to get poured back in by the fullness of God. He's everything. He's the 100%. That's awesome.
Absolutely. Definitely. I love your name, business name, Valiantly Victorious. So tell me, where did that come from? How did that come about?
Oh, Lord. That is